Run out.
So, you want to stop dying? Well, you've come to the right place. Whether you picked up the class because you saw firedup sweating in the Race to World First, or you've been watching too many tier lists recently and thought you'd give it a try, or you've been playing for a while and just don't really know what's wrong with your health bar, this video's for you. Hi, I'm Shy. I peaked top 700-ish on Mage worldwide. I don't claim to know everything about the class, but I'm also not talking about how to do raw damage. I'm talking about keeping yourself alive long enough to do good damage. If you want BIS talents, go to Billy's stream or watch a preheat video or something.
Hello again, this is Preheat. Welcome back to another World.
Does TWW even make content anymore? Damn. Okay, defensives. We have a bunch. We got ice shit, we got timed stuff, shadow clone jutsu, we got... Oh, there's... And then we got barriers part 1, 2, and 3. And finally, we have mass barrier. Externally, we have health bots, and if your group has a lock, we have cookies. For more of a mob control context, we have Blast Wave, Dragon's Breath, Frost Nova, Ice Nova, Cone of Cold, and Counterspell. Depending on talents, you can play Ring of Frost, but no one plays Ring of Frost. You might have Supernova instead of Dragon's Breath. You might have Gravity Lapse if you don't love yourself. But first, we're going to talk about the direct defensives. Ice Block is pretty straightforward. It puts you into an ice cube and stops all damage and debuffs, and if talented, it can also heal you for a certain amount of your max HP during the duration you're inside. A better talent right off the bat is Ice Cold. This gives you 70% DR, or damage reduction, and can still heal you, if talented, during the 6-second duration. But most importantly, it doesn't trap you into the physical block, so you can still do damage and move around as wanted. This talent is chosen by probably 90% of mages, but if you do seriously need the full immunity for a certain mechanic or something that you just want to avoid in general, the OG Ice Block is still a good option. When clicked, Alter Time essentially captures your position and health, and when reactivated or after the 10-second timer runs out, it will take you back to the physical place that you clicked it at, as well as return you to the health that you were at when you originally activated it. This is very important to understand because if you Alter Time at, let's say, 50% HP, and a healer panics that you're low and full heals you, when your Alter Time is finished, you will go back down to 50% HP. It's an extremely preemptive style defensive. For example, when you know big damage is coming out, this is a great ability to use. A perfect example is the Azurite charges in Siege of Borealis. When you're targeted and have a good amount of HP, you can use it and not only wait for the impact damage of the charge, but this can also help for the couple of ticks of damage that the dot will deal as well. The level of key you are doing will change when you reactivate Alter Time in any situation, as in higher level keys you will suffer more damage and have to use it faster. Keep in mind a lot of healers don't understand how Alter Time works themselves, so what I like to do in pugs is use it for fast damage or when I know the healer will also have to deal with other people as well. For example, Volatile Acid and Mists, or the Pillars in Grimbatol's first boss, even the Heaving Wretch on Blightbone. A final thing to keep in mind is when Alter Time is complete, if you are talented into Master of Time, you will also get a charge of Blink or Shimmer refunded, which we'll talk about more later too. A lot of people don't understand this ability either. You see people doing their damage rotations in those mage guides, and you just learn to assume that it's a damage cooldown, even though it does like, what, 0.8% of your overall? Mirror Images summons 3 clones of yourself with essentially 1 HP, each to cast Frostbolt at the enemy that you're targeting. During the 40 seconds that they last, or once all of your clones have been killed, they give you 20% reduced damage from all sources. They also take priority aggro from melee mobs attacking you, so if they target you, they will redirect to the images. You can pull some wild things off with these, but this is another preemptive ability to pop for some incoming damage to be mitigated.
Hell yeah, brother!
This is easily the best movement ability in the game. As a baseline, you have 1 charge, and it can get you out of snares and roots. Great for an infinite amount of situations already. And with Shimmer, you lose the ability to get out of snares and roots, but now you have 2 charges and can use it while casting for more damage uptime. You can blink through beams, away from mechanics, back to proper positioning, and anything else you'd want to do. It's beautiful. This saves you so much, while also having talents that further reduce its cooldown like Flow of Time, and like I said earlier with Alter Time giving another charge of it, it's priceless. Invisibility is extremely underrated. Sure, you can skip packs, save money on invis pots, or drop aggro if you burst before the tank can keep up, but you can also literally avoid mechanics. Oh no, the boss is casting Dark Exile on me, whatever will I do? Invis. Oh fuck, I'm out of health pots and I just got targeted. Invis. The tree motherfucker is casting the Siege. Invis. Blightbone just popped Heaving Wretch on. Invis. But seriously, Invis is fucking broken. It gives you 60% DR for the duration of you actually being invisible and an additional 3 seconds after coming out of invisibility. It's insane for being a 2-minute cooldown, so you should use it accordingly. Alright, we're going to talk about all of the barriers in one section. All 3 barriers have a 25-second cooldown and put an absorb barrier on you for 20% of your maximum health, lasting for 1 minute if not broken before depleted. The tooltips I found for this are showing old percentages, but all the numbers I'm talking about here are live in game, so just bear with me. Throughout each barrier's duration, there is a special effect that they grant depending on the spec that you are playing. Prismatic Barrier, exclusive to Arcane, reduces incoming magic damage taken by 25% while the barrier lasts, additionally reducing the duration of harmful magic effects by 40%. This affects roots, snares, debuffs as long as it's magic based. Blazing Barrier on Shymage forces melee attackers to suffer a percentage of spell power when directly attacked by the barrier. And Ice Barrier for Frost reduces attackers' movement speed by 50%. Mass Barrier puts whichever barrier your specialization provides to yourself and 4 of the nearest allies to you. And yes, they get the special effect as well. If you couldn't tell already, Arcane's barrier is the better of the 3 by far, especially in raid or boss encounters where mass AoE effects are common and very often happen to be magic based. The shield not only stands for about 1.2 million health consistently, but also reduces that incoming damage by such a substantial margin for such a basic ability. There are a bunch of different talents that go well in conjunction with each barrier, most notably Diverted Energy and Barrier Diffusion. Energized Barrier is really good if you're running Shimmer because it does give you what you're losing in Blink, as it removes snares and roots, and I guess you could make a case for a cumulative shielding, but it sort of goes from situation to situation. Now that we have the tools for success, I'm going to look into some deaths and see if there's anything we can learn about them defensively. First, we're going to take a look at the intro clip. This guy gets targeted with Molten Spark, the boss completes his cast of Molten Flurry, and instantly goes into his Forge Mace, which is just group-wide AoE. His Resto Shaman attempts to keep the group up with SLT, and he blinks out and invises for the damage reduction. Yeah, this guy's a freakazoid. He did all this extra shit trying to fit in DPS when he could have just thought about the damage type. We should know by now that the boss does AoE, and that Molten Spark drops lava under our feet after being complete. He could have just alter timed when targeted with Molten Spark and used mirrors to help a bit with the incoming AoE. We would have been more than fine. I don't know why he blinked out and did all that weird shit. I mean, we have Lock Rocks, Health Pot, and Barrier off CD outside of the other 2 defensives I suggested. Here's an example from a 10 Arakara. We're about halfway through last boss and her poison mechanic is active. The mage takes a bit too much damage, so he blocks and gets Pain Sup from his Disc Priest at the same time. Then the suck happens and he sets his altar up a little closer to the boss than I'm okay with, but he blinks around the boss for more time away from the middle to make up for it and alters back to avoid the big suck and lives, so he makes it work. Then he pops Mass Barrier for the next poison that comes out because his healer says that he doesn't have CDs. Overall, in this situation, it healed for about 6 million, so maybe 1.15 per person, something like that. Then he ends up using his health pot. It's not too bad. I do like the altar time here, just not really the positioning of it. The mass was good because the healer did call that they needed help, but he did hold on to mirrors for the whole time. He also didn't reapply the barrier that he put on before his altar. It felt pretty fast when he initially used it, but the cooldown was done right around when he health potted. So he could have used his barrier and instead maybe committed Invis, which is a 2-minute CD, instead of using health pot being a 5-minute CD. Alright, last one here on a 10 Dawnbreaker. This is the second mini-boss, or whatever you want to call it, leading up to the second boss himself. The orb pops and this guy goes down to crit because it wasn't placed as best as it could have been, and the boss instantly casts Abyssal Blast. His healer tries his best to keep him up, but the mage procs Cauterize.
You just have to aim it better, that's all.
Wait, is he blaming his healer for that? Okay, second orb comes out directly on him now. Normal dodge, he places it correctly, and again gets targeted by Abyssal Blast.
You can tell when with the arrow I was...
Did the orb hit me? Like, what is that?
Yeah, he's just stupid. He already knew that the first orb had scuffed placement, so he should have alter timed the burst damage and gotten back to full. Once he realized he was hit with Abyssal Blast, we could have mirrored along with the barrier that he popped after the orb, and even though we don't have health pot on block on CD, we should still be using the other options available to us. For the second orb, we could have just invised right before the impact damage. It's a super predictable burst of damage, so none of this should be a surprise. The trouble sets in on the second target of Abyssal Blast, but we would have been way better off on health by invising, so the healer should have been able to keep him up with no problem. That's all I really have to go over. If you guys are interested in more, I can look into some of your own gameplay if you want to send me some. I'll leave my Discord down below and you can send me some clips. If you have any questions or comments, I do read them all, so feel free to drop some down there. I really appreciate all your support recently as well. You guys have been blowing up my videos and it feels really nice because I put a lot of work into editing them and I'm glad they're being enjoyed. Thanks again. I'll see you guys later. Fuck Frost.